Okay, it's time, man.
You are now tuned into Real Rap on The Voice 17104, where Ron Chapel happens every Monday. Of course, you know who this is. It's your girl Niagara. Yeah!
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Ron Chapel coming to you from the battleground state of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Here we're about 22 days out from the very, very pivotal election. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I'm here with the engineer, Pastor Chris Thomas. How you doing, sir?
Welcome back, my brother. I'm doing well, man. Doing well.
All right, okay. Let me tell you, tonight we were trying to have the chairperson of the Dauphin County Democratic Committee, Ms. Rosette Harris, to be our in-studio or either on Zoom guest. And she did send me a message last week to see if she still had an invite to the program. And yes, of course she does, and I responded to that message. And I've been trying to get in contact with her. I don't have her phone number anymore. I think I had that in one of my old phones that I have replaced. And I've been inboxing her messages about her appearance, hopefully her appearance on tonight's program. And so if any of you have any way to contact Sister Rosette Harris directly, please let her know. Please ask her to check her inbox. And we would like to also have her on the program next week, which will probably be the final program of this series here before the election. I don't know, maybe the fourth week, maybe the week of the election or right before the election, we might do an earlier broadcast. And hopefully some of you will have time to call in to give us your views about this upcoming election. And let me tell you right now, if you want to call in with any message, any idea, any thought about this upcoming election, please feel free to do that. The number is 889, well, the prefix is 717. 889-7181. That's 717-889-7181. All we'll ask you is your name and where you're calling from. Okay, or if you want to text in a response, because I know some of you may only see the program over your phone, and you think it might be kind of awkward to try to watch the program and also make a call. So you can text in a message that the engineer will see, and he'll read it back, and then we'll take it from there. And so how y'all doing? Hey, listen, I went by the Dauphin County Election Bureau one day this past week, and I was able to cast my mail-in ballot right there, which I encourage y'all to do if you have time. Chris, I think we have a clip.
From you at the polls?
Yes, sir.
Sure. I had the clip of you and Joe.
Okay, yeah, the one of me at the Election Bureau, please.
Sure. Just give me 2 seconds, man.
And meanwhile, how about them Lions, huh? I tell you, for the longest, my team has been basement dwellers. At the start of every season, when the team would teams would look and see the Detroit Lions on the schedule, they automatically mark that off as a W, but not anymore. Things have changed. And so we Detroit fans are rejoicing in the fact that we finally have a quality team, a very, very competitive team. And I hope you all enjoyed watching the game yesterday. Okay, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, here's a clip that I made when I was at the Dauphin County Election Bureau. Okay, Pastor Thomas, and turn it up, please. State of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If you don't want to wait until November the 5th to vote, well, then you can do it today. You have until the 29th of October to go to the Election Bureau, wherever you're located at, and cast your vote. Ask for a mail-in ballot. You can fill it out right there and turn it in at the counter, and your vote will be counted. Your vote will be tallied. So I'll probably watch on November the 5th when the count come in for Pennsylvania. I'll probably see my vote being counted for the next President of the United States, Kamala Harris, and the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz. So if you don't want to wait, you can get out and vote today. Vote today. Make a plan for early voting. Ask for a mail-in ballot. You can fill it out right here at the office and turn it in, and your vote will be counted. Okay, there you have it. There you have it. That's all you have to do. Now, if you're in Dauphin County, I know that election bureau used to be downtown on 2nd Street, a block from City Hall, but now it has been relocated. It's over right across Paxton Street. If you are familiar with the, there's a nursing home over there, Pastor Thomas. You remember?
It used to be Dolphin Manor. I think it's Spring Creek. I
Oh yeah, Spring Creek Nursing Home. If you know what Spring Creek Nursing Home is, well, you go right in front of it. You go down about 2 blocks, and I believe veer to your right, and you'll be right there at the Dauphin County Election Bureau. You know, some of you have sent in, requested mail-in ballots, which I understand you, Pastor Thomas, had a mail-in ballot that you were able to drop off directly at the office.
Yes, sir. Actually, my wife and I actually sat down at the table last night to actually fill in our ballots. We had them about a month or so. They mail them in ample time for you to actually fill them out and to get them back. But we actually kind of waited a little while. Kept receiving texts and phone calls about when you're returning the ballot, about not letting different candidates win. So we finally decided today was that day. I dropped mine off, and my wife, I believe, is dropping hers off this evening as well.
Okay, so there you have it. Early voting. Early voting is the thing to do nowadays if you can be, because you never know what may happen. Just like let me edit that video I made. I give a little editorial add to it. I said I'll probably watch on November the 5th, watch my vote come in, watch my vote be tallied. But that's, of course, is if God gives, okay? If God gives, because we can make all the plans. Someone once said that if you want to make, if it's God's will, I'll watch my vote being among the number that'll be cast and counted for Kamala Harris. I corrected myself. I said Kamala, but she pronounces it Kamala. No, I said Kamala. She pronounced it Kamala. So watching my vote being tallied for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for president in the United States, president and vice president of the United States of America. Hey, listen, I got a little issue with a lot of you black men out there. The news items have been saying that Kamala is lagging their support from black male voters. And so my question to you all is why? Why won't you seriously consider and vote for Kamala Harris? What are some of the reasons that you choose not to support her, or what are some of the reasons that you are choosing not to help, or not to endorse her candidacy and not to push for her victory? Please feel free to give us a call at 889-7181, 717-889-7181. I just want to know what the process is. Some of you say, well, back when Donald Trump was president, that you had more money in your pocket, that gas prices were lower, that Donald Trump gave you stimulus checks and gave you PPI checks and stuff like that. And a lot of you really don't know the background of all that. First of all, that it wasn't money that President Trump, then President Trump, just decided to give people. These were bills that were passed and voted on under the George W. Bush administration and also the Barack Obama administration, okay? And so, let's see, Trump just happened to be sitting in the Oval Office when all that came into fruition, okay? And so, and so I just can't understand, the feelings that a lot of y'all have for Donald Trump when flat out, that the man don't give a damn about you. Matter of fact, he don't give a damn about his own supporters. One of his former staff members said that he considered them as being basement dwellers. His ilk look down on people like that, look down on lower middle class people and the so-called poor, the materialistic or financially poor. And so if you're not a billionaire, if you're not a decamillionaire or a billionaire, I really, really can't see the attraction that you have with Donald J. Trump. A convicted sexual assaulter, a convicted tax cheat, you know. And listen, you know, a lot of you, I heard say things about Kamala Harris about when she was the Attorney General of California, and you say what she caused a lot of black men, a lot of brown people, brown males, black and Hispanic, to be incarcerated, you know, during her time as Attorney General. And I really, really beg to differ with you. I beg to differ with you because she did not cause them to go out and commit the crimes that led them to pay the consequences for those crimes. You know, I think that she was someone doing her job, and in your hearts of hearts, if you really, really want to admit it, if you really, really want to admit it, away from the crowd, you know, you feel good that a lot of those people are taken off the street also. Now, we can talk about the disparity in sentencing, you know, how a lot of brown people tended to face harsher sentences when it came to time of sentencing. Well, let me tell you, let me remind you, there's another reason why you should be politically active, especially in this upcoming presidential election. I'm going to tell you why, because the president is the one that appointed a lot of these federal judges and a lot of these appeal court judges that may have to be the one that'll listen to your case if you, God forbid, find yourself you know, in an unfavorable position legally as it applies to the criminal justice system, okay? Do you want judges that are sitting up that don't have any inkling of anything about the society that you came from? You know, why you had to struggle and you might have did something right on the other side of the law to help keep a roof over your family's head, to help keep you know, food in the refrigerator, you know, not trying to condone acts of criminality, but do you want someone that can relate to you in any kind of way like that, such as, you know, which a lot of times when we go and vote for magistrates, district magistrates in our town, in our city, we generally want to elect someone that can identify with the lifestyle that a lot of us live from, you know. Now, and so I think that that would be reflective in the judges, some of the judges that would be appointed and that would be nominated by the person that would be in charge of that, and that is the president. That's the president of the United States. You know, when it comes to federal judges and federal appeal court judges, and they would also make appointments, hoping that they get accepted by the U.S. Senate. And so, you know, it's apparent how this Donald Trump feel about, you know, a lot of people in society that are not in the same financial status that he's in, or don't share the same social views that he has. You know, you can tell by the ones that he appointed, by the ones that he appointed, which gave a greater margin to outlaw abortion. You know, I mean, I'm pro-life. Let me say, maybe I should say moderately. You know, I'm pro-life. You know, but I believe that there are times when it's medically more sound for an abortion to be instituted. You know, if the life of the mother is in danger, if there's no way that the child is going to be able to have a viable birth, you know, whether it be cesarean section or whatever, or if it's a case of incest, you know, if there's some young girl, some lady, some young lady that was impregnated by her mother's boyfriend or by an uncle, and that has happened by the mother's boyfriend or the uncle or her own biological father. I don't think that she should be forced to carry that pregnancy to term. I think that's going to cause a lot of emotional and psychological duress to her, and also to other family members. You know, if there's a child there that we know that the child was fathered by the father of the young lady. So there are certain situations where I feel that abortion is appropriate. And so, But anyway, these are things that you should want to consider, when you go out, when you go out and cast your vote, especially for president, and don't just vote for the presidential office. There are other offices on the ballot, such as U.S. Senate office and such as congressional representative office. You want to make sure that you select the right people for those offices also. And if we that are on Team Kamala and Team Walz, Tim Walz, if we're on that team, well, we want to make certain or hope that the president will also have like-minded members sitting in the House of Representatives. Right now, I think we have maybe a one-vote majority in the U.S. Senate, but we are probably about 3 or 4 votes behind in the House of Representatives and in Congress. And so I hope that we can give a good bench, a good supportive bench, being U.S. senators and congressional representatives for President-elect Kamala Harris, and also for Vice President-elect, potentially, if God gives, Tim Walz. And so those are some things that we should consider. Now, there are various races in this Commonwealth also. There are a lot of local races for state representative. There's a race for Congress, and there's a race for U.S. Senate. And there's other items on the ballot that really need your serious consideration. And these are some of the things that I had hoped to speak with Rogette Harris about had she been on the program, and hopefully there's still time for her to be on the program next week. And then we would like to offer her to turn on the telephone, to open the telephone lines up so you can speak directly with her. I said some of you black guys out there, some of you brothers out there, said a lot of things about Kamala Harris when she was the Attorney General of California. You want to bring up her past, but how much do you know about the past of Donald J. Trump that a lot of you guys unfortunately have been supporting, or a lot of you guys are leaning toward? Do you know about the case of him and his father being sued because they did not allow or did not want to allow people like you, people exactly like you, to be able to move into apartment buildings that they owned? Did you hear about that? They wanted to make your father, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins could not live in properties that they owned, irregardless of how much you could afford to live there. Do you know about the that big park in New York, Pastor Thomas? Yes, the Central Park Five. These are five men of color, young men of color, black and Puerto Rican, that were accused of raping and murdering a white jogger. And just because they were arrested and accused, Donald J. Trump then took out a full-page ad in the New York Times and asked that capital punishment be reinstituted for their particular case. Well, lo and behold, with modern technology, DNA ended up proving that those guys were not guilty. And to this very day, and so they had since been released, for several years, and to this day, Donald J. Trump has not apologized to those men, to those that are remaining alive, to those men, about what he has said about, in the hopes that they would be executed for accusations. Do we have a message there, Pastor Thomas?
No, that was
okay.
my wife.
Okay, and so, but anyway, if some of you have something that you want to say about this election, please feel free to write it in, or please feel free to call it in at 717-889-7181. That's 717-889-7181. Let me ask you quite frankly, do any of you really care about this election? Do you care about this election? Or are you on one of them wait and see wait and see mindset that you just wait and see who's elected and then take it from there. You know, if you want to do it like that, I think that's quite irresponsible and that's quite foolish. You know, last week, you know, we played a video with Pastor. No, he's not a pastor. With Reverend Al Sharpton, you know, where he was speaking at a black church, and he talked about selective amnesia, and selective amnesia in this case would be that a lot of you know of, or should know of, or can investigate, you know, how many people before you struggled, and a lot of them lost their lives just for you to have the right to vote, just for you to have the right to vote. Don't think that we were automatically just given the right to vote by mere fact of being Americans. No, that had to be fought for, that had to be earned. They had to be struggled for, and they had to be earned, you know, from a lot of your foreparents, you know, and their foreparents. And so for you now to have the opportunity to go out and cast a vote, and a lot of you are just sitting back on that vote, not wanting to take the time, you know, because of laziness or apathy. You won't even take the time to go out and vote. And as a matter of fact, like we've been saying, they have mail-in ballots there, and I think you have up to the October 29th to request and receive your mail-in ballot. You got mail-in ballots out there where you don't even have to leave the house. You don't even have to leave the house. You just go to your mailbox. You go to your mailbox and fill out the form and have somebody, a family member, bring you a stamp by. And you just stamp the envelope and put it under your mailbox or hand it to the postman when he comes by your house. So you don't even have to leave the house to go out and cast your vote. Because if you don't vote, well then, believe me, someone will vote in your stead, and they may vote for people that are not people that will be benefiting anything about your quality of life, You know, there are people on some of these ballots who actually detest the very idea that you not only have a right to vote, but that you have the liberties that you have now. You know, there are people that want to roll back some of them liberties. You know, that's what that MAGA, Make America Great Again theme is. You know, to make America great again, well, then they're talking about an earlier era. Well, you know, in an earlier era, a lot of you weren't able to work at the places that you were able to retire from. A lot of you couldn't work at the places that you work at now. A lot of you couldn't attend the schools now that you are qualified to be in. You know, and so that's the era that they want to roll back. They want to roll back to the 40s and to the 50s. They want to roll things back then. Make America great again. They consider that time great. You know, back in the so-called Happy Days era, Pastor Thomas.
Oh, wow.
Remember that show, Happy
Yes,
Days?
sir. Yes, sir.
Happy Days, you know, where there were not any black kids. You know, I guess it was happy then because there were not any black kids or black families represented. Except for I saw one particular show where there was a black kid. I guess he was an athlete in the high school that Richie Cunningham and his friends went to. And so this kid was getting married. He was getting married, you know, to a black girl, you know, his childhood sweetheart or whatever. And his parents, the parents of Richie Cunningham's friends that were all white, forbade them to go to the wedding. And told them not to go to the wedding. Yeah, it was times like that. It was times like that back then. You know, it harkens me back. It makes me think back in the early '60s, Pastor Thomas. There was a song, a record that my mother used to like. You know, every time it came on the radio, and the song was called "Storybook Children." Storybook Children. Now, a lot of you, middle age or older, might remember that song that was out in the early '60s called Storybook Children. And what it spoke about, there were two kids. There was a black boy and a black man and a white woman. And they sung this melody about, you know, why can't we be like storybook children, you know, just running hand in hand, you know, through the fields, laughing, you know, because society had such a bad look, that they gave on interracial relationships. You know, there was another song out by Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. Does Your Mama Know About Me? How many of y'all remember that song? Okay, Chris, you remember that song?
No, sir, I don't think.
Yeah. Does Your Mama Know About Me? Okay, this was a song by Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. And incidentally, in that particular group, Cheech Marin of Cheech and Chong, Cheech Marin of that comedy duo Cheech and Chong, he was actually a bass player in that group, Bobby Taylor and the Vancouvers. Well, anyway, that song told about an interracial relationship, you know, a black boy and a white girl, and he was singing. The song was the theme of the song was, "Does your family know that I'm different than y'all are?" You know, how will your friends look upon the two of us being together? You know, will they ostracize you, or would they accept me as your friend? Would your father accept me as your counterpart? You know, and so that's to say that things the way they are now are not the way they have always been, not the way they have always been. And some people in that MAGA organization wants to roll back things the way that they used to be back during that time. As I say, Happy Days was set back in the 50s. That TV show was set back in the 50s. And sometimes, you know, art imitate, life imitate reality. And the reality back then was that there were very, well, matter of fact, there were no, I just spoke of one, but there were no black students, not many black students in the Richie Cunningham school, you know, high school, and they didn't have any black friends. On the show, it was almost as if black people didn't even exist, Pastor Thomas.
Wow.
You know, Bill Cosby had told, had made some comments about some show that was situated in New York, I think, that was called Friends. And this was like 15 years ago, and there were no black people, you know, no black people on the whole show, as if you know, black people didn't exist, you know, and which brings me to another point. Now, those of you middle-aged and older, because thank God they don't do this anymore for the most part, but there used to be shows that came on in the morning, and there were movies that were made. Pastor Thomas, are you familiar with the character Stephen Fetchit?
No, sir, I don't think so.
Okay, Stephen Fetchit was a Hollywood actor. That was a character that was shown in a lot of movies, and this was supposed to socially depict black men in society. You know, it was a stereotypical thing about black people, black men. You know, that they were slow, and that they were lazy, and that they were afraid of ghosts, and that they loved watermelon. You know,
Wow.
I mean, they made them look like they were complete utter idiots. You know, and the reason they did that, the reason they presented black people like that, is to ease the consciousness of a lot of white folks that knew that we were being mistreated. You know, it was to ease their conscience, you know, ease their guilt, because it had us appear in ways where they would think, well, you see how dumb they are. They're dumb, they're stupid. You see how damn dumb they are. So they don't deserve proper treatment. They don't deserve to be able to live here or to work next to me, you know, or use the same water fountain, you know, that I use. And all that, I'm going to tell you, you saw pictures. I know some of y'all saw pictures in movies. I think it was featured in the Forrest Gump movie, if you remember that movie, where there were actually two drinking fountains in some locations. There was one for whites only, and then there was one for colored only. Well, those things existed. Existed. You know. Thank God that that I can remember. I can recall. I saw those things. I saw those things in real life. You know, and I can tell you a little story. I'm getting a little sidetracked from my original theme here, but I'll tell you a little story that sort of coalesces that. You know, back in the early '60s, me and my mother and my younger siblings, we were going to Alabama to my grandmother's funeral, Pastor Thomas.
Yes, sir.
and we pulled up in we were in a Greyhound bus station, someplace down south. And so we're sitting in this area, which was a waiting room, a waiting area. They had wooden floors and they had like park benches, you know. And there were other people like us sitting around, so, you know, it really didn't mean anything, you know. And so my eyes wander across the floor over to the linoleum floors, and I saw that there was some showcases over there, Pastor Thomas.
Okay.
You know, I didn't. You didn't make any point. It didn't stick out of my mind then, but it was mostly only white people standing over there. You know, they were the only ones that I saw. You know,
Sure.
I saw them and I didn't see them because you know, sometimes you see things, but they don't strike any chord in your mind, so you see it and you don't see it. And so I happened to wander over there because I saw these buses, these little toy buses, in this showcase. You know. And so I went over there and I wanted to find out how much they were, little toy bus banks, because I was going to go back and worry my mom about buying me one, you know. And so I stood in front of the counter. I was about 6 years old, you know, and I looked up. It was a white lady behind the counter, you know, white clerk. And I waited till she finished the 2 customers that she was waiting on. And looked up, I said, ma'am. Even then, at that young age, I had manners because that's the way my mother raised me, you know. And I said, ma'am, I said, miss, I'm trying to get her attention.
Sure.
I'm trying to get her attention because I want her to tell me how much these little bus banks cost. Ma'am, miss, she looked everywhere but down at me, you know. Before I know it, someone was grabbing one of my hands, you know, my left hand, you know, and it was my mother, you know, and she walked me back across the floor, you know, and what had happened is that as a little kid, unawares, I had wandered over to the white-only section. You know, not knowing that there was a such thing, you know. I do recall the linoleum floors over there and cushioned seats, and I do recall the place we were sitting on, dirty wooden floors and park benches.
Wow.
And so all that was real. And see, these are the so-called happy days that MAGA wants to go back to, make America great again. I correlate that acronym with a different terminology. I think that it stands for Make America Go Away. Make America Go Away. Because Donald J. Trump has already said that if he were to be elected again, that he wants to do away with the Constitution, Pastor Thomas.
Okay.
It wants to do away with the Constitution, the very thing that even give us the right to vote. They give us the right to be able to be considered as other Americans, as regular Americans, you know. And so a lot of y'all should really investigate, you know, why you feel the way you do about this man, and see if it's acceptable. You know, another thing we have to do when we consider the president of the United States, we have to look past the president and look at who would be stepping in if something were to happen with that president. You know, there been 2 so-called attempts on Donald Trump's life, even though I believe that there's some conspiracy stuff going on, possibly, you know, with MAGA and possibly with even some members of the Secret Service, you know, who were either bought or you know, by Donald J. Trump or that leaned heavily in his favor. But anyway, so there were 2 attempts on his life. And sometimes they say, in some situations, Pastor Thomas, the 3rd time is the charm. So God forbid there was a 3rd time, and it was completed. You gotta, and he happened to have been elected. God forbid. You have to look at who would be stepping in to take his place, who would move up in the ranks, if you will, and that would be this character named J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance. Have y'all seen J.D. Vance? Have you listened to J.D. Vance? Do you know anything about the background of J.D. Vance? Do you think J.D. Vance would have any kind of empathy or any kind of understanding of the life of the world that a lot of y'all live in right now? As Donald J. Trump cannot really relate to his main supporters, with the rusty pickup truck and the big MAGA flag, or like Michael Cohen say sometime on his political beatdown broadcast, with three brain cells and two teeth. He can't really relate to those people no more than J.D. Vance can really relate to you. And so would you like to have someone like that making decisions and making appointments that will be affecting your life, about your lifestyle? One thing about Kamala Harris, here's a person that was raised by a single mom. Here's a person that knows the struggles of growing up in a lower middle class family. Here's a person that knows what a shut-off notice is. Here's a person that knows what an eviction notice is. Thank God, I don't believe they ever face them things, but at least she can understand that. Here's a person that said she worked her way through school. She worked through school, and she had a job at McDonald's, Pastor Thomas.
Okay.
And she did that for like pocket money. But she actually had co-workers who were trying to raise a child or raise a family off that same little McDonald's money. And so I'm saying that to say that she can relate to you more so than a so-called billionaire can. And so a lot of them things, you got to take into consideration. She's someone that can understand how sometimes landlords might try to jack up the rent or might try to treat you unfairly, whereas a person like Donald Trump will say, whatever your problem is, it's your fault. It's your fault. You shouldn't have made the landlord mad. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And so, and so, anyway, these are things that you should consider when you make that ultimate decision about who you want to be the president of the United States of America. And for you brothers out there, you black guys that gave y'all an opportunity to call in, gave you an opportunity to write in. You'll also have one next week if God give. What problem do you have with a black woman being the president of the United States of America? Didn't a lot of black women support the idea of a black man being the president of the United States? Because Barack Obama was made in your image, a black man too. A whole lot of black women supported him, not only for his election, but also for his re-election and also for his time in office, okay? And so, like I say, these are some of the things you got to consider. Who are some of the people that each individual would be appointing. They'll be pulling strings in your community. Can Donald Trump relate to your household more so than Kamala Harris can? Well, these are some things that you should consider. And for those of you brothers out there that have a problem with the black woman being a head of state for this country, being in leadership, well, remember this: a lot of you, and nowadays I would venture to say probably 60% of you were raised by a black woman, head in the household. Yes, a lot of you come from single households where your mother, another black woman, raised your entire family, and so was she capable enough that now you are in your healthy and in your right mind and grown and have children yourself? Did she do a good job? Okay, well, what makes you think that Kamala Harris would not do a good job? Would not do a good job? Why are you hating? Why are you hating on black females? You say you're a man. You say you're a man. You say a man should protect his women. Well, why aren't you supporting your women? I'm not saying just vote for her because she's black. I'm not saying just vote for her because she's a black woman. What I'm saying is that here's someone that can surely identify and relate to you more than someone that's completely in a different world altogether. His family probably never saw a shut-off notice unless they were handing it out. You understand what I'm saying? Kids never went to school, never went to the store with a food stamp card, Pastor Thomas, or with food stamps. Can someone like that truly relate to you? Relate to you and the problems that may be going on in your household, your lack, the things that you lack and may need? Could someone like that really relate to that? Could someone, can a guy by the name of Donald J. Trump really relate to you and your lifestyle and your family's plight? You know, as in my case, I would say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, like I say, these are some of the things that you should consider. You know, and I'm looking at the screen, Pastor Thomas, and my eyes look kind of heavy. You know.
Sure.
And so, don't y'all, you know, to clear up any kind of erroneous ideas, you know, that some of you may have or might want to contribute to me. Okay, yeah, today was a holiday, if you will, but you know, a lot of you know that I got a part-time job, you know, out of town a couple of Saturdays out of the month, and I worked many hours until even mid Sunday morning, and then came back and had to work today at my local part-time job, you know, and so but anyway, so like a rest, but that's all right. The truth is the light, and that's what we help to distill us here, you know, here on Real Rap with Ron Chapel. Well, we gave y'all an opportunity to call in. A lot of y'all, you know, you may have considered, and some of y'all may not even care. Some of you have been so doggone brainwashed and intimidated and programmed that you enjoy somebody else making decisions for you. You understand what I'm saying, Pastor Thomas?
Wow.
You enjoy someone else making decisions for you in your life. You know, as you know, a lot of those slaves that were liberated from Egypt, a lot of them got disgruntled and wanted to turn around and go back. You know, because a lot of them did not want to deal with the responsibility of trying to make their own way. And so, is that what I'm hearing from a lot of y'all? Because your non-communication is non-vocal communication. You know, you communicate a whole lot in your silence. And so that's silent communication right there. You know, because, you know, we give you the opportunity to call in, we give you the opportunity to write in, you know, and you want to talk about everything else under the sun. You want to know about everything else under the sun except for the backgrounds of the people that are running to lead this nation, you know, and if you knew half the plans that they had for people like you, you would be out there supporting the right people. Pastor Thomas, I've got a clip there of me and Mr. Joe Madison, and he's going to speak about the importance of voting. And so we're going to close the program with this, and like I say, hopefully we'll be back next Monday night at 8:15 if God give. And if any of you have any way to contact Rogette Harris, the chairperson of the Dauphin County Democratic Committee, please ask her to contact me or contact the station, because we would love to have her on the program, and possibly a couple of local candidates next Monday night on Real Rap with Ron Chapel. So we're going to close out with this video and wish you well. And if you haven't voted yet, you still have a top opportunity to go out and vote, because you never know what may happen on November the 5th. You know, God forbid, you may have a flat tire, you may have to, you might not, you don't know what may happen. But one thing for certain, and two things for sure, that you have an opportunity to go to the Dauphin County Election Bureau and ask for a mail-in ballot, fill it right there at the office, and the second thing is to turn it in right there, and your vote will be counted among the number. Okay, Pastor Tim, time to close out with the clip, and good night, everybody. Okay, I'm here with Mr. Joe Madison.
You almost said Robinson.
Joe Madison,
so you thinking
the
Detroit.
Black Eagle. No. You know what happened? No, I was talking to two Robinson brothers, and I tell you, they were pretty gregarious, so I made a mistake. Listen, all right, all is well.
If I got $1 for every mistake I made on radio, man, I'd be rich. You know, that's
Hey, listen, you know, I was telling y'all that I knew of Joe Madison from way back in Detroit. and that is true. Like I said, I know when he came to Detroit, 22 years old, voter empowerment officer, I believe, for the national NAACP. Now, I didn't know him personally, but I knew of him, because he's very outspoken and very instrumental in helping a lot of people in the community. At one time, Joe led a crusade against the Johns that were driving through the west side of Detroit in certain neighborhoods harassing black women. Now, a whole lot of pimps came after Joe. They were threatening him and all that, but Joe stayed with it. This man has been a furious warrior for a long, long time.
But you know who really came after me were lawyers, black lawyers who had as clients the Johns from the suburbs, who threatened that they would never support the NAACP again, because I ran the Detroit NAACP first, and it was like, wow, I was 24. But we also went after, even before gangster rap, remember Black Exploitation film?
Yes.
Superfly,
all the movies, glorifying drugs.
Drugs and that type of thing. You got good memories. You got a good memory.
Well, I tell you, I remember real people, you know what I'm saying? And so I just want to let y'all know that Joe has been out this for a long time. Talking about a real one, Joe is a real one, fearless fighter, the Black Eagle. Joe Madison, Sirius XM Urban View.
All right, y'all got to go out and vote. Now, please, y'all got to vote. You got to vote. Vote whoever, and vote all the way down. Don't just vote at the top, go all the way down to the dog catcher if they're on the ballot.
That's right. It's not an all-day process either.
No. You can take a sample ballot in and do it in a few minutes.
Right. Hey, man, if I get a plug in for my talk show, Joe.
Go ahead.
That's the Ron Chapel Show. Every Monday night between 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern on The Voice, 17104.com, The Voice of Harrisburg.
I'm glad you don't compete with me in the morning.
Okay, all right. Good night, everybody.